Leo, if you've been feeling like someone is trying to reach you from beyond, you're not imagining it. There's a message you've needed to hear for a long time now. And today it's finally arriving. This video isn't about predictions. It's about reconnection. It's not just a reading, it's a conversation from heaven. Your mother, or the spiritual mother figure who shaped your heart, is trying to speak to you. And I believe with everything in me that you're here right now because part of you already knew that. Leo, you're ruled by the sun. You shine naturally, even when life feels cloudy. But being strong all the time can make you forget you're allowed to feel. You're allowed to miss someone. You're allowed to break down a little. And sometimes, healing begins with a whisper, a scent, a memory. That unshakable feeling that someone is still watching over you. So let me ask you honestly, have you had moments lately where something just didn't make sense, yet your chest tightened with emotion? A dream that felt too vivid. A presence that made you stop in your tracks. That's not coincidence. That's contact. Spirit doesn't knock on our doors with thunder. It shows up in quiet moments when the world pauses long enough for your soul to hear what your mind won't accept. And right now, astrologically, something profound is happening. The full moon in Aries is activating the 9th house of your chart, the place of spiritual messages, higher wisdom, and ancestral connection. And in this very moment, I pulled the High Priestess, a card that always speaks of sacred knowing, inner truth, and messages that come from beyond the veil. This is not about religion. This is about love that refuses to die. Your mother's spirit has something urgent to say, and you've been guided here to receive it before it fades back into the silence. So stay. Take a breath. What I'm about to share may feel personal, maybe even a little painful. But if you stay with me, it could also be the moment everything changes for you. Because I don't just read cards. I translate energy. And what I feel right now isn't ordinary. It's protective. It's powerful. It's a mother's love that still surrounds you, a love that isn't bound by time or space. You're not here by mistake. And you're not alone in how you've been feeling. So if any part of you already sensed this message was meant for you, if you've been asking for a sign or waiting for clarity, then I invite you, not as a content creator, but as a fellow soul on this path, to listen closely. There's more to this than meets the eye. And before we go deeper, I want to say this from the heart: thank you for being here. Your presence means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every time you share or subscribe, it allows messages like this to find those who need them most. You are part of something real here. And yes, I mean you. Now, Leo. What brought you here today? What have you been holding in your heart that still hurts? Take a second and confirm this moment by leaving a comment below. Even a simple sentence like, "I feel her with me," can help ground this energy in your life. Because what's coming next, it's not just a message. It's a turning point. And I promise, if you stay with me to the end, you'll understand why the universe didn't want you to miss this. Sometimes, what we carry in our hearts weighs far more than we let the world see. And Leo, I know you've carried so much quietly, courageously, often without anyone truly understanding how heavy it's been. But what if I told you? Someone has seen every tear you didn't let fall? Someone who's no longer physically here, but whose presence hasn't left your side. That's what this part of your journey is about, recognizing the invisible thread between you and your mother, or the maternal figure who shaped the deepest parts of your soul. The cards that revealed themselves, Judgment and the Empress, aren't just symbolic. They're sacred messengers in their own right. Judgment speaks of awakening, of being called back to truth, to the version of you that's been buried under grief, guilt, or exhaustion. The Empress, ever nurturing and divinely feminine, represents the voice of unconditional love. Together, they form a channel, a spiritual bridge from your heart to hers. Maybe you've had recurring dreams lately. Ones that feel more like memories than fantasy. Maybe your chest tightens for no reason, or you've been caught off guard by emotion in the most mundane of moments, hearing a song, smelling something familiar, standing in a quiet room. These are not accidents. These are echoes. That moment when your breath catches? That's her. She's been trying to get through. Not with grand signs or loud revelations, but with quiet, consistent reminders. I see you. I haven't left. And I know, Leo, you're so used to being the strong one. The brave one. The one others lean on. But even lions need to rest. Even warriors need to be held. And that's what she wants for you now, not to fight harder, but to soften. To allow. You see, some of the wounds you carry didn't even begin with you. They run through the generations, patterns passed down silently, unconsciously. And you've been the one brave enough to say, it stops with me. But healing ancestral pain is not a solo act. There is help. And sometimes, that help comes from beyond what we can see. There's a spiritual truth here, one that's grounded in the experiences of so many, that when someone we love dies, the relationship doesn't end. It evolves. Love doesn't need a body to exist. Connection doesn't die with breath. Her energy is still around you, in ways both subtle and profound. And it shows up strongest when you're nearing a breakthrough, because those deep emotional knots you're facing now, you were never meant to unravel them alone. This part of your journey is an invitation. An invitation to surrender the need to hold everything together. To allow the energy of nurturing, not from others, but from something much deeper and older, to reach you. She wants you to know that strength is not just in action, it's in rest. It's in trust. It's in the courage to feel what you've been avoiding. When she watches you, and yes, I believe she does, she doesn't see your failures or doubts. She sees your resilience. She sees how hard you're trying, even on the days when you feel like giving up. She sees the love in you that keeps giving, even when it's not returned the way you deserve. And from where she is, she's whispering what maybe no one else has told you in a long time: you don't have to carry this alone. So I'm asking you, from soul to soul, has there been a moment lately where you felt like you were being protected, even if you couldn't explain it? Have you felt the presence of someone you've lost, especially when you needed comfort the most? If so, share it in the comments. Let this be a place where you can say, even if it's just once, I'm not alone. I am being protected. Because there's power in naming what we feel. And sometimes, writing it down is the first step toward believing it. This is your moment to pause and listen, not just to me, but to the voice that's been speaking to you in whispers all along. She's still with you. And right now, she just wants you to know, you're safe, you're loved, and she's proud of how far you've come. Sometimes, We don't realize how long we've been dimming our own light just to make others more comfortable. Especially for you, Leo, someone born to shine, born to lead with heart and boldness. The very thing that makes you radiant can sometimes draw the wrong kind of attention. It's not always obvious at first. It starts with subtle shifts, a friend whose tone changes when you're happy, a partner who grows distant after you speak your truth, advice that leaves you doubting yourself more than feeling supported. But over time, those subtle signals become heavy, and you start to wonder, is it me? Am I imagining this? You're not imagining it. And the energy around you lately has been trying to show you exactly that. In this part of your journey, the cards that surface, the Tower and Seven of Swords, are not here to frighten you. They are here to liberate you. The Tower is about truth erupting, foundations breaking only when they were built on illusion. And the Seven of Swords? That's hidden agendas. Secrets. People wearing your trust like a costume while working quietly against your peace. For many Leos, this period has brought the uncomfortable realization that not everyone around you wants to see you rise. One person envies your natural warmth. Another has used spiritual manipulation, jealousy masked as concern, or even emotional withdrawal to create cracks in your most meaningful relationship. This kind of interference doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it comes through energy, through silence, through gossip whispered just loud enough to echo, through intentions masked as advice. But here's the thing, light always exposes what's been hiding in the dark. You don't need to fight the shadow because your radiance naturally dissolves it. This is not a call to defend or to explain. It's a reminder that your light is your protection. And that protection becomes stronger the moment you claim your energy back. You see, reclaiming your energy isn't about rage. It's about return. It's a quiet but powerful decision to no longer leak your essence into places that dishonor you. It's writing it down literally if you need to and saying, I call my energy back from every space, every person, every thought that has misused or manipulated it. The message is clear: the people who tried to manipulate your path, live out your story, or plant seeds of doubt in your most sacred connections, are facing what they created. That's the law of energy. What is sent out, returns. And no, you don't have to wish for karma or consequences. You just have to stay rooted in your truth, and life will take care of the rest. You were not meant to carry the weight of secret intentions or broken trust. And no matter how long you've second-guessed your intuition, you can return to it now. You are allowed to stand in your light unfiltered, unapologetic, and trust that the people who truly love you won't shrink because of your brilliance. Take a moment right now to breathe. If your heart has been heavy, let it speak. If you felt used, drained, or confused by someone's behavior, you are not alone. Many are walking this same path of clarity, learning how to gently release what isn't aligned without needing conflict to do it. And if anything I've said here feels true to you, let it settle. Then share it. Write a comment. Say it aloud. Or simply claim this moment silently as your own. Your journey back to self doesn't begin with confrontation. It begins with awareness. And this is your awareness arriving, Leo. You don't need to fear the truth. You've always had the strength to face it. You were just waiting for the right moment to stop surviving in someone else's shadow and start living fully in your own light. Not all returns are meant to be reunions. Sometimes, their reflections mirrors the universe places in front of us, not to bring back what was, but to show us how far we've come. If you're here, reading or listening, you're likely sensing something stirring. Someone from your past, someone who mattered, is resurfacing. Maybe through a message, a dream, a thought that won't leave. And it's not random. The cards that appeared, Six of Cups and Ace of Cups, are deeply emotional. They speak of memory, of tenderness, and of new emotional beginnings. But the key here isn't about whether someone returns. It's about who you are now compared to who you were when they left. Sometimes people walk away not because love disappeared, but because confusion or outside influence clouded their judgment. That doesn't mean you weren't enough. That doesn't mean it was your fault. And now, as energy clears, you may feel the ripple of that connection waking back up. The important part is this: you're not the same person anymore. You've grown. You've softened where needed and strengthened in places you didn't even know were soft. So if someone returns even with sincere intentions, don't forget that your heart has done a lot of healing work while they were gone. If you choose to open the door again, let it be from clarity, not loneliness. Let it come from grounded presence, not longing. You have every right to rebuild, but only if it honors the person you are today, not just who you were in the past. Because sometimes what we miss isn't the relationship itself, but the version of ourselves we were trying to become through it. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is not reunion, but release. And if you don't choose to let them back in, trust that something better is already being written for you. The Ace of Cups is not subtle. It's a sign of new love, real, honest, soulful. Love that doesn't make you doubt yourself. Love that doesn't rely on games, or silence, or leaving you second-guessing. But for that love to find you, you have to stay open. Not just to others, but to yourself. That means trusting your worth. Knowing that your softness is a strength. Believing that you don't need to earn love through pain or prove you're lovable by suffering through misunderstanding. One of the most powerful healing practices I've shared with people on this path is something simple: write a letter you'll never send. Pour every unspoken word into it. Every why, every I wish, every I'm still hurt. Let it out. Then close the notebook or burn the page. The release isn't about them. It's about freeing your nervous system from the emotional weight you've been carrying quietly for too long. And if you're ready to take it a step further, even just 5 minutes a day, stand in front of the mirror. Look at yourself not through criticism, but with compassion. And say, out loud, even if your voice shakes, I am worthy of love that doesn't confuse me. I am worthy of love that sees me. Not because you're perfect, but because your heart is true. And that alone is enough. This journey you're on is not just about healing heartbreak. It's about returning to yourself. It's about reclaiming your right to choose, not from guilt, not from fear of missing out, but from deep, conscious alignment. You are allowed to want more. To ask for tenderness. To say no when it's not enough. To say yes when it finally feels right. If you've ever loved and felt misunderstood. If you've held on longer than you should have because hope was louder than hurt. You're not alone. And I invite you to share your story. Even a sentence. Our space here is sacred, a place where truth can be spoken without judgment. A place where you're not just seen. You're understood. There comes a point on the healing journey when you realize the abundance you've been chasing wasn't far from you, it was just waiting for you to believe you deserved it. And maybe, Leo, that's where you are right now. After all the giving, the sacrificing, the moments where your worth was overlooked or your contributions minimized, the energy is shifting. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet sense of something unlocking. The momentum returning. And no, it's not just hope, it's energetic correction. And it's long overdue. The tarot cards guiding this part of your journey, Wheel of Fortune and Justice, are not subtle. They speak to cosmic balance, cycles coming full circle, and long-delayed rewards finally making their way back to you. But this isn't a story of revenge or proving your worth. It's about alignment. It's about stepping into the version of you who no longer feels guilty for wanting more, who no longer apologizes for outgrowing scarcity, emotional or financial. You see, the blocks you felt, the stuck income, the overlooked opportunities, the feeling like no matter how hard you try, something keeps missing the mark, they're not failures. They've been energetic echoes of old patterns, of feeling unworthy, of waiting to be chosen, of overgiving in spaces that couldn't reciprocate. But that old system is breaking. And as it breaks, something incredibly powerful is returning to you. It's not a coincidence if you've been seeing repeated numbers like 888 or 1111, or finding feathers, coins, or vivid dreams around wealth and restoration. These are signs. The universe is confirming, your time is returning. What was delayed is now on its way. What was unfairly taken will be returned, sometimes in ways you least expect, through doors you didn't even know were opening. And if you've had moments where you watched someone else take credit for your ideas, benefit from your energy, or prosper from your silence, let that memory go. Not out of weakness, but out of power. Because what's yours will circle back, and this time, it will be undeniable. And the best part? You won't need to force it. You don't have to beg for your worth to be recognized. That season has passed. The only thing required now is your receptivity, the openness to believe that what's coming is already yours. That's where the law of attraction comes in, not as a gimmick, but as a principle rooted in energetic integrity. You attract not what you want, but what you're ready to receive. So the question is, are you truly ready? Not just to hope, but to embody the version of yourself who already has it. Who wakes up knowing they are supported, resourced, and safe. Here's something I invite you to do. Write down 3 things you want to receive this month. Be honest. No shrinking, no sugarcoating. Write it as if you fully believe they're already yours. Then breathe. Inhale the words, wealth flows to me. Exhale, I am worthy of abundance. Do this for 5 minutes a day. You'll be amazed how quickly your field shifts when your body and energy start believing what your mind has been doubting. And if any part of this resonated, if your soul whispered, yes, even once while you were listening, take a moment now and ground this shift. Share in the comments, I am ready to receive everything that's already mine. You can even add your lucky number this week. Claim it. Anchor it. Because Leo, the truth is, you were never meant to survive off scraps. You were meant to thrive in fullness. Not because you've earned it, but because you are it. And when that truth finally settles in your bones, watch how fast life rises to meet you. There's something quietly breathtaking about realizing the pain you've been walking through wasn't the end of your story, it was the turning point. And Leo, after everything you've carried, everything you've survived, this is where your mother's message comes through the loudest. She doesn't appear to you in sorrow anymore. She comes as light. She stands beside you not with mourning, but with pride. Her energy has shifted because yours has. You've crossed a threshold that perhaps you didn't even notice from surviving to rising. The card that anchors this moment, the star, isn't just about hope. It's about restoration, reconnection, a deep return to your essence after a long night of the soul. And when the star shows up, it's never about outside rescue. It's about inner light coming back online. And for you, Leo, it's always been there, buried maybe, but never gone. This is your glow returning, not because something external saved you, but because you finally let go of the need to prove your worth. You remembered it. Your mother, whether in body or spirit, sees that. She sees how far you've come, not just in what you've accomplished, but in how you've healed. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She doesn't want you to keep pushing through the world like you're alone. She's been walking beside you, quietly, lovingly, waiting for the moment you would hear her say, "You're ready now. You can bloom." And what's beautiful about this energy is how personal it feels. You're not being rushed. You're not being judged. You're simply being invited to let your life reflect your soul again. The old path, the one that was so heavy, so full of obstacles and lessons and loss. It's still part of your story. But now, it's glowing. And not because someone lit the way for you, but because you became the light. That's what this moment is. It's not about changing who you are. It's about finally seeing who you've always been without distortion, without apology. Maybe this is the first time in a long time you've paused and realized you're not just healing, you're changing. You're softening without losing your fire. You're forgiving without forgetting your worth. And maybe, just maybe, this is the first time you've felt like you can breathe without waiting for the next wave of chaos to hit. If that resonates with you, take a moment. Say it aloud, or write it in the comments if it feels safe. I accept, with gratitude, my mother's guidance from heaven. Or even more powerfully, what once harmed me now reverses to serve my peace and prosperity. These aren't just affirmations. They're energetic declarations. When spoken with intention, they begin to shift the air around you. They remind your body that it no longer needs to brace for impact, it's safe now to receive, to expand, to shine. And maybe there's something else lingering in your heart. Something you wish you had said. A goodbye that never felt complete. A thank you that got lost in the silence. If you're ready, write that down too. Write the last thing you wish you could say to your mother. Let this space be your altar, your closure, or maybe your beginning. You see, Leo, your light, that unmistakable presence that warms and leads and inspires, isn't just your birthright. It's also her legacy. When you thrive, when you choose joy, when you dare to rest and still glow, you're not just living for yourself. You're continuing the story she began. And that is something sacred. Even though she is no longer here in the physical, your mom is more present now than ever. She sees the tears you hide, the strength you summon every morning just to carry on, and the silent questions you whisper into the universe. She has heard every word. And this message is her answer. This was not just a reading, it was a reunion. A reminder that love doesn't die. That her soul still walks beside yours. That even in her absence, she's become the wind that whispers, "Keep going," when you want to give up, the light that flickers in the dark just before you break down, the synchronicity that shows up exactly when you need hope. Can you feel it now? That warmth? That sudden knowing? That's her. That's the life-changing message she sent today, not to control your path, but to free it. You're not here to carry the weight of generations. You're here to break patterns, not inherit them. She doesn't want you to repeat her pain. She wants you to remember her power, and build beyond it. What she passed on wasn't money, property, or fame. It was spiritual legacy, intuition, resilience, truth, and the right to choose differently. And now it's your turn. To stop replaying what hurt you. To stop giving power to people who couldn't love you properly. To stop shrinking so others feel comfortable. You are not the victim of what happened. You are the creator of what comes next. Will you choose to live stuck in what's broken, or will you honor her by rebuilding stronger? Will you stay in guilt, or finally allow yourself to be happy? She wants you to say yes to yourself. Yes to peace. Yes to the new chapter. Yes to the kind of life she didn't get to live but always dreamed you would. So today, do one sacred thing just for you. Light a candle. Take a walk in silence. Write her a letter. Speak out loud what your heart has never said. Buy yourself the flowers she used to love. Rest without guilt. Take a bath with salt and lavender. Open the window. Let her energy in. Let her remind you that healing is not betrayal, it's fulfillment. And if this message touched something deep inside you, leave a comment below and affirm it to the universe. I am ready to open my door. I choose to walk in the light. Mom, I heard you. I remember who I am now. Don't keep this message to yourself. Someone you love may need to hear it too. Share this video. Be a channel for love, just like your mother was. And if you're new to this sacred space, make sure to subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, where every message is a mirror, a key, and a doorway back to your soul. This is where the healing begins. Remember, your mom didn't raise you to stay afraid. She raised you to become the light she always saw in you. And now, it's time to let it shine.